Okay, welcome to Elevator World's webinar series. I'm T. Bruce McKinnon, the president of Elevator World and your host for today. Today's webinar is presented by SnapCab, and the topic is the SnapCab story and how it all started, part one. In today's webinar, presenter John Kerr, National Sales Manager, and Joe Danko, General Manager, will share the SnapCab story and explain the system while going over how it all started. SnapCab's interlocking panel system has revolutionized the elevator industry by providing a flexible, simple, and repeatable system to elevator mechanics, allowing them to install a beautiful, high-quality interior in less than a day. As mentioned, this is a two-part webinar. The second webinar will be held on October 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and will focus on how to keep your team working during the COVID-19 recession, and also explain how the SnapCab elevator interior system is easy to install and simple to sell. During today's presentation, I encourage you to post your questions in either the question and answer section or the chat box. After the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any of your posted questions. John, you may begin the presentation.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Yes, my name is John Kerr. I'm the sales manager here at SnapCab. I started at SnapCab about 15 years ago. I have experience in every department. The same would be true for Joe. But like I said, currently in sales, and I'll pass it to Joe for his introduction.
Thanks everybody for coming. My name is Joe Danko. I've been with the company just going on 17 years now. I started in manufacturing as a helper, and I've also worked through every position in the company with the exception of a sales position, which has been great for gaining experience, and I now am currently the general manager.
All right. Oh, and sorry, that was the introduction slide. Okay, so in the very beginning, so our founder, Glenn Bostock, he had an attraction to high-end woodworking. So as you can see in this picture, I'm just going to show you with my mouse, all of this cabinetry here, this is all built into the wall. So you have to figure that a wall is out of square, and you can't just build this thing and put it in there. It has to be built basically in place. So with a product like this, it requires a lot of skill to produce it, not very scalable, and it's not in a system where it can be repeatable either. So with that, we'll jump over to the shadow lines and the reveals.
So like John said, you know, when you're doing custom work, everything has to be, you know, custom engineered, surveyed, etc. There's a lot of work that goes into making a good fit. Typically in that industry, things were scribed into uneven walls, which again added to the time, and it was not a very repeatable process. So during that career, Glenn, being an innovator, came up with some ideas or some concepts that he applied to his custom and high-end woodworking that actually, and we'll talk about this, were actually things that he adapted to the elevator interior system that he developed. And those things are things like, you know, intentionally leaving spaces between, you know, where items meet. You know, what he said is, you know, if you try to make something match up perfectly in an imperfect world, you know, it's just not going to work. And if you miss, it looks horrible, and it sometimes doesn't work. So if you purposely leave gaps and spaces for things to kind of hide, you know, it's actually more aesthetically pleasing, and it's something that you can do over and over as a repeatable process. So you see some examples on the left here which show what I'm talking about, intentionally leaving gaps and spaces between things to create a shadow area reveal space. These are some of the techniques that we're going to look at down the road here with our system, but to the right you can see an example of that. So our interior systems are purposely left a little short of the inside corners. There's a reveal in the background so that you get that nice cleanable stainless steel seamless look. Very easy to install, but we purposely leave the panel short from the corner. Again, you know, elevator interiors are usually out of square and in fairly poor shape sometimes. And so this actually makes the product install easily, and it looks like $1,000,000 when it's in. Same goes here too, where panels line up. So by intentionally creating these spaces, you know, again, if you're misalignment, if you're misaligned a little bit due to things being out of square, etc., it really looks nice when you add in this decorative detail. Basically, designing flaws into the system, but I wouldn't say it's a flaw. It's actually an architectural detail that really looks aesthetically pleasing.
So, so Glenn was running this custom cabinetry business since the '80s, and his father was a partner in an elevator maintenance company, an independent elevator maintenance company, and he had suggested to Glenn that that he thought it would be a good idea to get involved in the interiors, because at the time the way the interiors were replaced was they would take the shell out with the interior, and then a factory would remake the shell and the interior. So it was very timely. It was very expensive. So he began structuring his business just to build elevator interiors. And but at first it wasn't the SnapCab system. At first it were things like this off to the right. And this job specifically, which was a job here in Philadelphia. This job it's a product called Marlite, and along here, so these look like what Joe was just talking about as far as shadow lines, but these are actually black extrusions, and these panels all needed to be cut on site to fit perfectly in these corners. And this installation took 4 days, everything being cut in place, and it was as Glenn has told me, it was just a total nightmare. So this is how the SnapCab system was built, or I'm sorry, it came to be. So off to the left in this picture, there's a picture of a standard hanging panel, which was the industry standard prior to the SnapCab system, and is still applied today in certain interiors. But what's interesting about this picture, this was a demonstration for a large elevator maintenance company that wanted to partner with SnapCab. So what we did was there were two mechanics that were installing the standard panel off to the left, which is that hanging panel, and off to the right was one mechanic installing a SnapCab. So you can see in the same amount of time that it took two mechanics to install that one panel on the left, the SnapCab system was fully installed for an entire wall, along with the handrail and the pad buttons. And then this is just a view between the Marlite job on the left and something similar that you could get with the SnapCab system. Again, very similar aesthetic. You know, if you were to just change this laminate on the bottom here, but the one on the left installed in 4 days, and the one on the right installed in 1.
So I'll talk a little bit about our system. Some of the things, you know, as John mentioned, have to be done after the fact. I'm just going to give a quick overview before we drive into some of this detail. But our system is fully engineered here at the factory with all the elevator code taken into consideration. Fire ratings, handrails are pre-mounted at the right height. Ventilation is considered and addressed, and it's part of our system. So when you install a SnapCab, it's a real simple installation. You don't need any specific tools, very similar, simple, basic tools to install the SnapCab system. And it's definitely mistake-proofing and repeatability and simplicity are the things that were really considered when this system was designed. So if we want to drive in a little bit here on number one, just again, kind of overview our reveal system. So one of the first things that would get installed with a SnapCab system is this reveal. Typically stainless steel, but other materials can be available. But the thing is, this reveal goes behind the panels about 1.5 inches on each side. Again, it's giving you that gap, that space where, you know, you're not going to see things that are out of square if the interior is not square. And at the same time, it gives a little bit of flexibility on the measurement because it underlays the panels. The second piece here we'll talk about a little bit is our toe kick binder. So on the bottom of the cab, this would be the first real piece of the wall paneling system that would get installed. toe kick binder has ventilation considered. It's not visible, so there's a little sight guard on the front that typically doesn't allow the ventilation holes to be visible, but they're there. It's also the piece that receives the very first panel. Over to the left here, the third piece here, again, thinking about quality and longevity, this is our panel edge protector. This piece is an extruded aluminum piece, which has a groove in the back of the panel to lock it in very simply, ensure that it's lined up right, and it's on an angle on the face there, so it'll deflect any kind of impacts that would typically damage the end of the panel. We go up to number 4. This shows our ILP joint again. ILP stands for interlocking panel, and this is our design which allows the installer to screw the panel in on the top there, and then when the panel on the above that panel comes down, the back of that panel, number 1, covers the screws from the installation of the lower panel, and at the same time, it again creates that 1/8 inch shadow line, that gap or reveal space there, which helps mistake-proof against imperfections. Number 5, as I mentioned, our handrails come pre-installed, and that again takes the guesswork out of the heights, etc., and it saves a lot of time. Again, all pre-engineered in our factory and pre-installed. The 6th piece over here is our top cap. This is basically the top trim that finishes off the very top of the last panel. So it's a decorative piece, but again, integrated into that is a sight guard, which reduces the visibility in the gap there between the ceiling and the cab shell. And at the same time, there's a channel on the bottom, which is integrated, and that accepts our pad hook, which you'll see in number 7. So that little channel gives a place for the pad hook, which is designed specifically to work with our top cap, comes pre-installed on the pads, and it locks in place and it won't fall off unless you move the little thumb tab. Again, these are things that we learned from the industry. That gives a quick overview of our system and how it's mistake-proof. Really, with the mistake-proofing, we intend to create products and systems that are repeatable and mistake-proof as much as possible.
And this just goes into, so we've been operating over 20 years doing the elevator interiors. And since it's a system that we're able to, it's a systematized product that we're able to send out across the United States, and our customers who are elevator maintenance companies, they do the installation. So we've been able to scale the business based on the product itself being a system. So we went from a small cabinet shop with dirt floors from back in the 80s and 90s to the leader in this category in the United States. So Joe's gonna take some time to present on the culture, some tools and practices that has made this growth possible.
Thanks, John. So one of the things we like to talk about is our lean culture. I'm going to start off by a little description of what lean manufacturing is, although we don't really call it lean manufacturing anymore. We call it lean thinking. Lean is a methodology that doesn't just apply to manufacturing, but it applies to the office. It can apply to the home, to the daily life. It's really just a way of thinking of continuously improving, identifying what you see, finding the root cause of problems, etc., and continuously improving. And so some of the tools that we use here that helped us create our repeatable processes is 5S. We'll talk a little bit about that. Standard work, Kaizen. We do this on the shop floor and in the office, etc. And these systems that we're going to talk about have allowed us to improve tremendously. We've improved our quality, eliminated a lot of non-value added or wasted steps in process, reduce our costs, ensure timely deliveries, remain highly responsive to the needs of our customers and coworkers. We have a really good system for that, and really getting our employees involved. And then with that said, I'd like to talk a little bit about our monthly lean tours that we do. So we open our doors once a month to 25 to 30 strangers to come in, and we present to them not necessarily what we do, but how we do what we do. And this is a great way to get our employees involved, and it's a great way for us to learn. We've realized that, if we speak about the tools that we implement here in our business to improve, by continuously talking about that with people and getting questions and having to give feedback, we've learned a lot about ourselves, and we've really, really been able to help others and grow ourselves. This lean tour starts off with a small presentation, a little bit about the history of the company and how we got involved with lean manufacturing. And where the real benefit is we actually break up into groups and we go out on the shop floor. And these guests get to hear a presentation from our frontline workers. So these are the people out on the floor doing the work, adding the value, creating the value. They get to present what it is that they do and how they do it. They also get to answer questions. And this has been a huge boost to our employees, our engagement and culture. It's really, really been a great benefit to us. Talk a little bit about 5S. 5S is just really a way to create a clean, organized, efficient system, area, etc. What 5S stands for is sort, shine, set in order, standardize, and sustain. Basically determine what is it here that we need or don't need. Let's get rid of what we don't need. Let's clean it up now and make it look presentable. Now we're going to make it orderly and neat. Going to standardize everything, make it visual, which you can see in this picture to the left, or the before and after on the desks at the top here. And then we have an auditing system that we created where peers get to audit each other and make sure that we're doing things the way we said we're doing. These cups up at the top here, I thought would be a great example of a very simple system that's very important and informative to us in this company. We use colored cups in the shop and the office. They're used a little bit differently, but they basically indicate the status of workload and things that are going on. Green cup would be displayed. Everybody has a display stand at their cubicle in the office, and there's a cup on top of that that displays the status of their workload. Green cup means everything's going well. They're on top of their work, no issues. They're available for help if needed. Yellow cup means I'm on top of my work. I'm pretty busy. If you really need me, you can ask me, but I'm yellow. I'm trying to stay focused on my work. Red cup means I'm very overloaded. I may have a problem. And that's a great indicator. A manager can see that red cup and go over and ask, what can I do to help you? Or again, peers with green cups can say, hey, is there something I can do? Can I take some work off your plate and help you get through the day because I'm a green cup, I'm on top of everything. And a black cup just means that you're out of the office. Again, very simple ways as a short example of what 5S visual means. Something else we do, we work really hard to create standard operating procedures. We engage our employees on doing this. So when, they're the guys and girls out there doing the work every day. So they're the experts. So we want to engage the frontline workers to say, well, what is the best way? What have you learned by doing this all the time that, makes it the best way? Or what can we do to improve? These off to the right here, these pictures of phones, SnapCab actually will provide cell phones, iPhones, to our employees at the company's cost for many different things. We use them for communications through the teams. The other thing we encourage employees to do is if you have an idea, we want you to set up a little test model and do a video. Or when we do standard work or best practices, we encourage our employees to record those videos. And then what we do is we upload them to our system. We create QR codes, and then they go back out on the floor as standard working operations or standard operating procedures. So they're available at any time for any employee because every employee has a phone. If you are doing something that you don't do very often and you need a refresher, you can scan that QR code and it's going to take you directly to that work instruction and show you how to do it step by step. Something else we do here is Kaizen Events. Kaizen is a Japanese word that basically means change for the better or change for good. We do continuous Kaizen events here. A couple examples that you see here is we have multiple workstations where we manufacture, assemble elevator interiors. One of the things to note about SnapCab is almost all of our employees are cross-trained. So they float around the shop frequently. They don't necessarily show up and work in the same place all the time every day. So it's important that tools are available, presented to employee visually, needs to be easy to find out when things are missing. They need to be standardized because, again, these work cells, people float around between different cells throughout the week. So it's important that things are in the same place every time, no matter what. So these are just some examples of some of the things we do with Kaizen events, where we remove what we don't need, organize what we do need, present it in a way that it's very easily accessible and easy to tell when something's missing, and then standardize it. So continuous improvement, again, for SnapCab, for continuous improvement for SnapCab is really about getting employees involved. Training on lean methodologies, as I mentioned, identifying mistakes is probably our biggest thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We call mistakes turnbacks. Anything that interrupts the flow of work is called a turnback. It's a lot easier to digest that word than mistakes. Humans make mistakes. It's what we do. So we never blame people here. We always blame the system. We check our ego at the door. We just never ever point to a person. And the goal by reducing the fear around making mistakes is to, and identifying mistakes is really to open the mind of these employees for new ideas. This promotes teamwork and definitely leads to empowerment. We've experienced this here. These are some of the benefits we've realized here in SnapCab by getting the employees involved and reducing the fear of making mistakes. We've definitely improved in our quality, our standards, our teamwork and engagement is amazing. People working together to solve problems. Improved communication, even if we haven't solved the problem yet, at least people know that, hey, this is a problem for me, it could be a problem for you. Increased knowledge for everyone, as I mentioned. Reduced lead time, reduced inventory, and reduce or near elimination of equipment downtime, which was one of our biggest problems in the beginning. So go into the Gemba walk. So Gemba, what is Gemba? Gemba is another Japanese term that means the actual place. So for us at SnapCab or any company, Gemba for us means, on the shop floor where the value is created. It could be in the office where the value is created. So it's actually going to where the work is done and having a, digging in, finding out what's going on. So we have these boards located throughout our business where employees are encouraged to write up a mistake. So this in the center here is a little example of one of the blocks on the boards there, where they actually write down the date, job name, etc., and a little description of what went wrong. And then we do a Gemba walk every single day. So at the Gemba walk is a representative from most departments. So purchasing, production, quality, engineering. So no matter what problem can come up there, there's a manager that can discuss, take, ownership of fixing that problem and at least accountability for it. We have a conversation around that at that meeting. Again, the frontline presents to managers. Managers don't present there. It gives the frontline workers an opportunity to kind of manage up a little bit. And decisions are made right then and there on how we're going to proceed. And if not, then there's usually a Kaizen event that's scheduled, et cetera, and we'll get back to that and turn that into a project.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add, Joe, this has been huge. I mean, you think about at another company, if you would get some of the executives of the company to come out and speak on the shop floor. This is where I remember when we put these Gemba boards in, and really you put these Gemba boards in, and this was the biggest change for the positive that I've seen. This is just to highlight that this is huge.
Yeah, this was our biggest gold nugget. Absolutely. So again, we talk about, reducing the fear in the company. Well, a lot of people have asked us over the years, well, wait a minute, what makes me as a SnapCab employee want to say, hey boss, I did something wrong? How do we reduce the fear of doing that? Because I know I worked in companies where if you made a mistake, you were reprimanded, and you're probably not really enthused about raising your hand and writing it on a board and saying, hey, I did this. So what we do here is, again, we don't blame the person, we only blame the system. And we have this ticketing system, this reward system. So every time an employee writes an issue on the board, they receive a ticket. Tickets are given out at the Gemba Walk, and they're collected up for prizes down the road. We have a little game we do at our monthly company meeting where we eventually get to who has the most tickets. We celebrate that person, and they get to spin this prize wheel here and win numerous different types of prizes. And it's been a real great way to keep people engaged with identifying, what went wrong. And the real focus is on solving the problem, not what happened. It's more about how did it happen. Okay, now let's go fix it.
Mm.
Huge for our culture. Just some before and afters. I won't spend much time here, but by identifying frontline workers, identifying problems, mistakes, quality issues, etc., it really led us to this first picture on the left here, these first two pictures, I should say, where we went from a contact spray line for our laminating system, which was a long system, took up a lot of floor space. It was dirty, horrible fumes. It's just very difficult maintenance, difficult operation, hard on the back. One of the things that we focus on when we do lean improvements is we focus on motion, and putting things right at point level. So we were able to implement a new system, which was much shorter. It enabled us to use non-toxic adhesives, which are environmentally friendly, as a controlled process. So it was a lot less on the person. It was, humans are able to do what humans are good at and not do the mundane work. And it allowed us to go from a 20 to 30-minute cycle time per piece to a 2 to 3 minute cycle time per piece. Same on the left, again, just an example of, an area that was shared with no ownership, and therefore it was just a mess all the time. Employees, as we did Gemma boards, said, I can't do my job here. The bench is a mess. I can't find my tools. I don't have the tools I do need to have. So after a Kaizen event, that's what it looked like on the picture on the left. And then we had a system to maintain that. So it's really been great getting the employees involved. So talk a little bit on this right here. So, one of our main goals is really to create a community of usefulness. We want to do things that are useful, things that solve a need to a person. These are our core values in the center: be kind, be authentic, and be useful. These symbols on the right here are very important to us. As a matter of fact, there's big giant posters in our front office when you come in our front door. And the the trash bag, when you come in the SnapCab and you see that trash bag, what that means to us is our intention is to provide the end user of our product with every single thing they need to be able to do their job successfully. Things need to be pre-engineered, packaged properly, easy to get out, easy to install, and we supply everything the installer needs, all the way down to the cleaning solution to clean your fingerprints off the panels, the towels to clean them off with, and the trash bag to put the trash in. So when you install SnapCab, you're done. You don't need anything. The boots represent, we put ourselves in our, in our customer's shoes. We did have an installation division here for many years. All of us have gone out on installations to experience that. That was part of your introduction to the company. And so we've installed our product. We know what didn't work. We know what did work, so we can improve what didn't and leverage what did. And we also continuously engage, the installation mechanics, etc. So we love that feedback because, again, our intention is to continuously improve. We want to know what's not working and what is working, so again, we can improve. And the zipper on the bottom is a reminder of, how we create systems and products at SnapCab. We want to create systems and products that are simple, but provide a very useful service. Zippers are very simple in the way they work, but they have to work the right way. Things need to line up and integrate together in order for it to work properly. And that's the thought process behind what we do when we design product and systems at SnapCab. And again, just, reiterate our SnapCab community here. We have a bunch of different people. Our people are our foundation. We have people with very diverse backgrounds that come here. We have landscapers, we have tile setters, we have people with absolutely no previous manufacturing experience. And what we want at SnapCab is people to bring what they do, what are their gifts that they do have, and enable them to be able to utilize them, support them, train them, really get them engaged, give them a voice. The Gemma board is a great place for an employee to have a voice to say, this isn't working, or I have an idea, and management is, driven to listen to them and let them kind of manage up again, as I mentioned.
And now I just wanted to share on the growth of the company because this culture, the culture and the systems approach is really what has built the business, along with a lot of hard work. So the first 14 years of when Glenn was doing custom cabinetry, you could see it was kind of stagnant growth for those first 14 years, and then he read a book which he attributes a lot of his success to. It's called The E-Myth. And that book has a very heavy focus on building systems and building your culture. And so as you see, as you know, the next 22 plus years, that's where SnapCab really started to grow. So the success and the growth of SnapCab has been a byproduct of the change in focus and focusing on the culture and the systems and growing the people. So, as far as what's next, we have the second part of this webinar, which is going to take place on the 27th of October, where we're going to go through the business model of selling cab interiors. What I mean by that, we have a lot of people here don't know that we have sales and marketing support. We have ways of increasing your close rates by working with SnapCab, and it's sometimes to some insane degrees. It's upwards of 80% when we're getting involved. We'll be going through some of the profit models of selling SnapCab, some of the things we're doing related to COVID. So that is to come October 27th, and I think with that we can open it up to Q&A. Or back to Bruce at least.
Okay, terrific, John and Joe. That was really, really interesting. I actually have a few questions. I was wondering, what is the average time to install a typical SnapCab package?
The average time to install, I would say between two mechanics, it's generally a day. This is actually one of the things we send out to continue to improve is a mechanics card that goes in each installation kit. So Joe was talking about the installation kit, having the trash bag. It has a mechanics card that goes in it that tells us how long it took them to install it, any problems that they had with it, so they can return that back to us, and we can address those product issues that the customer has. So it's like our external Gemba board by doing that. So in doing that, I'm getting to my point here. We've been able to dial it down to a day on average.
And that includes demolition typically.
That includes demolition, that's right.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's really interesting, the concept you guys have where they pretty much have everything they need, even down to the trash bag to haul out the trash and wipe down everything. That leads me to another question that I was thinking of during the presentation, and I noticed you had it was like a specialized clip for padding within the cab. Is that included in the package, or is that an add-on? How does the padding work with the SnapCab package?
You want to answer that one, Joe?
Yep, sure. The pads are actually something that you would order in addition to your kit. So it doesn't come standard with a pad kit, but if you order it, it comes with everything you saw in the pictures. So if you said you wanted protective pads, you got the entire system. Pads, clips, everything ready to go, custom made to fit your interior.
Nice. I got one more question, and then we've got a few posted here. On the lean culture tours, I was interested, who attends these tours? Is it primarily local business people, college students, or is it industry related people you guys invite to the lean culture tours?
So I'm gonna let Joe answer that, but I know he's had guests from across the world. So I'm gonna let Joe answer that because he runs them.
Yeah, it's like John said, we all of the above. We've had the United States Postal Service in here down to the local coffee shop. We have people that are thinking about starting businesses, trying to improve their businesses, right size, get their businesses healthy. We have people that are already lean executives, I would say. And, VVIRC is a local company to here that actually goes out and teaches lean to companies. They do events. They'll actually come into your facility and perform events. They come to visit us. So it's anywhere, like you said, from top end executives all the way down to floor workers. What I've seen mostly is, maybe VPs or quality managers will come out, do a tour, and when they see what it is that we're doing, they're like, wow, we have to get our people through this. And typically we see a wave of 2 or 3 more waves from each of those companies where they go all the way down to their front line and get them out here. One thing I'll say about the lean culture, it's really the key word there is culture. Again, the United States Postal Service came in here and they have the highest end lean people there, and they do lean very well, but the culture needs improvement according to them. If you don't have a culture to support lean improvement, it's very hard to sustain. And statistics prove that, where companies tend to fail in the implementation of lean, it's usually at that last of the 5 S's, the sustain part. That's why we feel like culture is the biggest important part for us.
Very good. Thanks, Joe. Looks like we've got a few questions here asking about types of finishes that, what are the possibilities of the different type of finishes that can go along with a SnapCab?
It's really all over the place. Starting as basic plastic laminate, specialized plastic laminate. There's glass. We have Gorilla Glass, which is a hardened, the same glass on your iPhone. So we worked with Corning to kind of pioneer to get that into the architectural market. We have Gauge Carve, which is a decorative aluminum. We can basically supply anything we can put on the panel. We do have our standards, which are on our website as well.
Okay. What about, Andrew is asking about flooring options.
So flooring options, generally those are sourced locally to wherever your job is.
Would that be the same for ceiling? You guys are primarily only doing the walls?
No, we do the ceilings as well.
Okay.
Yeah, ceilings as well.
And then Andrew's asking about the weight that is added to the cab for typical package.
So that's gonna be all over the place depending on the size of the car and the materials put in. But on the bottom of our quotes, when you get a project quoted, there is a weight study that's along the bottom of the quote that tells you the weight of the cab interior that you picked out based on the capacity that you supplied. So that's another thing. When you quote a SnapCab, all we need is the height of the car and the capacity of the car, and everything else we can quote. Generally, for a standard interior, I would say it's, what would you say, Joe? Like around 300 pounds?
Yep.
Okay. We have a question from Carol asking about design, and do you guys have a drafting design department? Yeah, it looks like to create different types of designs.
Yes. So each quote that goes out also generally goes out with a design. What I would recommend is, so our interior specialists, so the one that's going to join me for next week's, the 27th call, Brittany would get together and do what's called a design session. So this is one of the things that really helps boost the close rates on these jobs. What we've seen is when you do a design session with your customer, so we come in as basically as an employee from your company, and we're not gonna share the pricing with the customer, but we will go through and design it with the customer. And once the customer is designing their own cab, we find that they're pretty married to the design that they came up with. So we would the the way we like to do it is going through design sessions, but we can also, you know, if you give us the model and the color, we can also just send you the design.
Perfect, perfect. One more question here from Chris is, have you done any jobs for scenic or observation type cabs?
We have, I would have to get back to you with some addresses. I know that we have some in Hawaii, and other places. I mean, Joe might know better because when they come through the shop.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I can't remember any specifics, but I know we've done some in Hawaii and some other places like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, this has been very informative, and I look forward to the second part coming later this month. And I think it's really interesting how you guys are partnering to help, to help close sales. I think that's going to be really interesting. So thank you very much, John and Joe. I don't know if you guys have anything else to contribute, but I think looks good. I think the presentation was excellent, very informative. So for all those attending, you can learn more, of course, at snapcab.com. Each of you will receive a follow-up email that will contain the contact information for both the presenters, as well as a link to this webinar. We'll be sending another reminder as well for the second part of the webinar series to be held on October the 27th. So be sure to be on the lookout for that sign up. I'd like to personally thank each and every one of you for attending, and hope everybody has a great afternoon. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.